Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. Testing. 1 2 1 2. Testing. Alright, we got it. Got it. We got it. Hold on. Let me get it together. Alright. One. Let's get it going. Alright.
What you have, but even the strongest of us sometimes need help, a guiding hand to get to the next level.
Details how he was taken into custody and when. He is in custody right now. He will be appearing in court later today.
Was there any discussion of him surrendering, given, they claim he's cooperating?
I'm not going to be able to get into law enforcement tactics or operations. Well, I can't get into the charging decision. It is very meaningful to us that weapons were possessed, as we allege in the indictment. Part of the reason why this conduct was so pervasive and harmful was because victims and others didn't necessarily feel comfortable denying him his wishes, as we allege, because of the presence of firearms. I should leave it there.
Nice. Last question, Jacob Shamison. Jacob Shamison, Business Insider. Thank you. Given that he's the sole defendant in this case and that you allege he's part of a conspiracy that involves members of his companies, do you anticipate a superseding indictment that will bring allegations against other members of his companies or other co-conspirators as well?
Again, I can't take anything off the table. Anything is possible. Our investigation is very active and ongoing. And I think a lot of you who cover this office know that when we say such things, that developments are certainly foreseeable, but I cannot predict them sitting here today. All right, thank you, everyone. Good morning, everyone. My name is Damian Williams, and I'm the U.S. Attorney here in the Southern District of New York. Today I'm announcing the unsealing of a 3-count indictment, charging Sean Combs with racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, interstate transportation for prostitution, The indictment alleges that between at least 2008 and the present, Combs abused, threatened, and coerced victims to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct. As alleged in the indictment, to carry out this conduct, Sean Combs led and participated in a racketeering conspiracy that used the business empire he controlled to carry out criminal activity, including sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and the obstruction of justice. Let me say a little bit more about the charges. The indictment alleges that Combs abused and exploited women and other people for years, and in a variety of ways. As alleged, Combs used force, threats of force, and coercion to cause victims to engage in extended sexual performances with male commercial sex workers, some of whom he transported or caused to be transported over state lines. Combs allegedly planned and controlled the sex performances, which he called freak-offs, and he often electronically recorded them. The freak-offs sometimes lasted days at a time, involved multiple commercial sex workers, and often involved a variety of narcotics, such as ketamine, ecstasy, and GHB, which Combs distributed to the victims to keep them obedient and compliant. As alleged, when Combs didn't get his way, he was violent, and he subjected victims to physical, emotional, and verbal abuse so that they would participate in the freak-offs, and that Combs hit, kicked, threw objects at, and dragged victims, at times by their hair. On one occasion in March of 2016, that conduct was captured on video and later reported in the media. Specifically, Combs kicked, dragged, and threw a vase at a victim in a Los Angeles hotel when the victim was attempting to flee. As alleged, these assaults often resulted in injuries to the victims, which took days or weeks to heal. In addition to the violence, the indictment alleges that Combs threatened and coerced victims to get them to participate in the freak-offs. He used the embarrassing and sensitive recordings he made of the freak-offs as collateral against the victims. And the indictment alleges that he maintained control over the victims in several ways, including by giving them drugs, by giving and threatening to take away financial support or housing, by promising them career opportunities, by monitoring their whereabouts, and even by dictating their physical appearance. Because of all of this, the indictment alleges that the victims did not believe they could refuse Combs without risking their security or facing more abuse. The indictment also alleges other acts of violence undertaken by Combs and others, including violence against witnesses to his abuse, kidnapping, and arson. The indictment alleges that on more than one occasion, Combs carried or brandished firearms and threatened victims and witnesses. Now, Combs did not do this all on his own. As I mentioned, Combs has been charged with RICO conspiracy. He used his business and employees of that business and other close associates to get his way. Those individuals allegedly included high-ranking supervisors in the business, personal assistants, security staff, and household staff. The indictment alleges that those individuals facilitated the freak-offs. They booked the hotel rooms and stocked them with the supplies, including drugs, baby oil, personal lubricant, extra linens, and lighting. When the hotel rooms got damaged, they helped clean it up. They arranged for victims and commercial sex workers to travel for the freak-offs, and they delivered large quantities of cash to Combs to pay for the commercial sex workers. The indictment also alleges that they helped Combs cover up his crimes. During the March 2016 incident at the LA hotel that I mentioned earlier, a member of the hotel security staff intervened, and Combs attempted to bribe the staff member with a stack of cash to make sure that what happened was kept quiet. And as the indictment alleges, in late 2023, after public allegations were made about Combs' crimes, he and others pressured witnesses and victims to stay silent, including by making phone calls to witnesses and victims and giving them a false narrative of what they had experienced. And as alleged, Combs used others to help conceal his abuse by monitoring and preventing victims from leaving a location in order to hide their injuries, or by locating and contacting a victim who had attempted to flee. As part of this investigation, in March of this year, special agents from HSI executed search warrants at Combs' residences in Miami and Los Angeles. They also executed a warrant for Combs' electronic devices. During those searches, agents seized evidence of the crimes charged in this indictment. They seized firearms and ammunition, including 3 defaced AR-15s and a large capacity drum magazine. They also seized evidence of the freak-offs, electronic devices that contain images and videos of the freak-offs with multiple victims. And they seized cases and cases of the kinds of personal lubricant and baby oil that Combs' staff allegedly used to stock hotel rooms for the freak-offs, more than 1,000 bottles altogether. Here are some of the items that we recovered during the searches. As you can see here, this is a drum magazine, large capacity, and it contains, I believe, 59 rounds. I mentioned as well that we recovered 3 AR-15s. This is a close-up shot of one of the AR-15s, and you can see right here, the serial number has been thoroughly defaced. Another picture of more ammunition and parts of 2 AR-15s right there. Now I want to be clear about 2 things. First, this office is determined to investigate and prosecute anyone who engages in sex trafficking, no matter how powerful or wealthy or famous you may be. No one should doubt our commitment on that. A year ago, Sean Combs stood in Times Square and was handed a key to New York City. Today, he's been indicted and will face justice in the Southern District of New York. Second, we are not done. This investigation is ongoing, and I encourage anyone with information about this case to come forward and to do it quickly. Anyone with information can call 1-877-4-HSI-TIP. I want to express my deep appreciation for the victims and witnesses who have used their voices and helped bring this criminal conduct to light. We would not be here without them. I also want to thank the dedicated case agents on the HSI Trafficking in Person Squad in New York. They have been with us since day one and have worked tirelessly on this investigation. They will continue to be invaluable partners to us. I also want to thank the incredible agents and analysts from SCNY who have also provided tremendous assistance on this case. I'm deeply grateful for their continued work. And finally, I want to thank the outstanding career prosecutors from SCNY who are handling this case. Meredith Foster, Emily Johnson, Chrissy Slavic, Madison Smeisler, and Mitzi Steiner, and their supervisors, Jamie Backluther and Jacqueline Kelly. They are members of the Civil Rights Unit in our criminal division. We created the Civil Rights Unit when I became U.S. Attorney. I'm deeply proud of their work on this and so many other cases. I'll now take some questions.
Aaron Katursky, ABC.
David, thanks. The indictment describes aggressive, open, violent, hedonistic abuse that you say was recurrent and widely known. Why did it take law enforcement so long to intervene? How many women were victimized by Sean Combs, and how many others were involved?
Well, our investigation is ongoing. We are committed to bringing justice to everyone who's been victimized by the defendant. I can't tell you why it took so long. I think the better focus is on the fact that we are here today. And we are committed to making sure that justice is done. Next question.
Julie Ainsley, NBC.
Thank you for doing this. You said we are not done and that Combs did not do this alone. Do you foresee that there could be other charges related to this case?
I'm not taking anything off the table.
Janet Fisher, Newsday.
What's the difference between the sex trafficking and promoting travel for the purpose of prostitution?
Well, there are different crimes with different elements. I don't think we should get into the nitty-gritty of the legal discussion right now, but the sex trafficking, we believe, they're all serious offenses, but the sex trafficking conduct carries some significant penalties, and we are gratified that we were able to bring that charge.
Is one more coercive than the other?
I'm not going to be able to get into that, but you can look it up, and yes, sex trafficking, especially when it involves coercion or force, is a very serious crime, and it carries significant penalties.
Good afternoon, Darla Miles, ABC7 New York. Thank you for this press conference and for the details. 2 questions. In context of this indictment and the information that was presented to the grand jury, are you able to clarify the number of victims? It's mentioned plural in the indictment, but can you specify the number of victims just for this particular indictment? And secondly, can you provide details about the alleged arson?
Unfortunately, I'm not able to provide either. The number of victims, you are correct there. We are intentional in saying multiple. The details of the arson incident are limited to what we have in the indictment, and also the detention letter that we filed, which contains more details than the indictment does at various points, but we don't have anything more beyond that. Next question.
Lynn Chen, CNN.
Are any of his accomplices or associates under investigation? And additionally, could he face any more charges?
So the investigation is ongoing. That means both as to him and to anyone else who you believe committed the crime with him. Next question.
Juliet Papa.
Hi, good morning from 1010 Wins. Any indication that some of the women or victims here were imprisoned in his residences, and did he have locations where he kept them, and were not allowed to leave? And also, he's indicted here, although there were searches and raids in LA, Miami. Why in New York?
Well, I'm biased. I'm the U.S. Attorney of the Southern District of New York. I think that we have an outstanding track record of bringing some of the most impactful, sprawling, complex, difficult sex trafficking, human trafficking, labor trafficking, you name it. The Southern District of New York can do it, so we're very proud of that. And so the scope and complexity of this investigation isn't something that we ran from, it's something that we embrace, and we will continue to do that. As to your question about whether he imprisoned anyone, all I can say is that I mentioned this March 2016 incident where something was caught on video where a victim was attempting to flee, and there was violence that was associated with it. That was at a hotel.
Matthew Lee, Associated Press.
Thanks a lot. Does your office intend to seek remand, or are you reaching a bail package? And if you're willing, how would you contrast this with the R. Kelly case in EDNY in terms of the elements? Thanks.
So we will be seeking detention. We have filed a letter laying out our reasoning for seeking pretrial detention. I'm not going to be able to expand beyond what's in the letter, but it contains all of the reasoning, and it contains the law as well. There's a presumption of detention in a case like this, and we think that's warranted.
John Anise, New York News.
Thank you. I was hoping to get some more detail about the searches of his residence, the guns, the cases of lubricant, and the videos. Where were they found amongst his residence? Were they all scattered around the houses in one place? So I kind of wanted to just get a better picture of how that stuff was found.
Well, look, I think that some of the details that you're seeking are in the detention letter. So, for instance, some of the AR-15s, 2 of the 3 defaced AR-15s were found in his bedroom closet in Miami, broken down into parts along with magazines with ammunition loaded in them. So some of that detail is in the detention letter. Beyond that, I'm not going to be able to get into where other items were stored.
Ben Kochman, Post.
Hey, thanks for doing this. Your office was the office that had been prosecuting Jeffrey Epstein before he died in custody. I have not read your detention memo yet. It's the first thing I'm going to do after this ends. But does the memo address, or is your office concerned with Combs' safety in custody, given what happened with Epstein?
So we are concerned with anyone's safety whenever they are detained prior to trial. It's part of our obligations to keep people safe as well. It's part of the criminal justice system. So But I do not draw any sort of connection between Jeffrey Epstein's suicide and what may or may not happen to any other defendant while they are detained pre-trial. And of course, the decision whether to detain the defendant will be up to a judge. Our position is that pretrial detention is warranted under the law and based on the facts of this case, and I'll leave it at that.
Are some of the prosecutors on this case some of the same prosecutors that have been handling that, or that worked on the Maxwell case?
So, I'm not going to get into the staffing. I will say that this team, this group of AUSAs, this incredible group has been working on this case around the clock, and they've had their hands full. Next questions.
Gus Rosedale, NBC News.
Good morning, sir. Combs' attorney said that his client has been cooperative with investigators. He said that this morning. I was wondering if you would have a reaction to that.
Let me just say this. I think that generally and with increasing frequency, the word cooperative or cooperating has taken on tremendous elasticity and no longer really bears any relation to what the word means when we use it in a very specific context. So responding to lawful process and the like does not qualify as cooperation when we use that term here.
Mike Sisak, AP.
Thanks. To that end, was there any discussion of Mr. Combs surrendering? I understand he was taken into custody at a hotel in Manhattan last night, and maybe that wasn't the plan. Can you elaborate on how that came about and why that was?
I'm not going to be able to get into any sort of operational details as to how he was taken into custody and when. He is in custody right now. He will be appearing in court later today.
Was there any discussion of him surrendering, given he claimed he was cooperating?
I'm not going to be able to get into law enforcement tactics or operations. Well, I can't get into the charging decision. It is very meaningful to us that weapons were possessed, as we allege in the indictment. Part of the reason why this conduct was so pervasive and harmful was because victims and others didn't necessarily feel comfortable denying him his wishes, as we allege, because of the presence of firearms. I should leave it there.
Thanks.
Last question, Jacob Shamison.
Jacob Shamsian, Business Insider. Thank you. Given that he's the sole defendant in this case and that you allege he's part of a conspiracy that involves members of his companies, do you anticipate a superseding indictment that bring allegations against other members of his companies or other co-conspirators as well?
I can't take anything off the table. Anything is possible. Our investigation is very active and ongoing. And I think a lot of you who cover this office know that when we say such things, that developments are certainly foreseeable, but I cannot predict them sitting here today. All right, thank you, everyone. Good morning, everyone. My name is Damian Williams, and I'm the U.S. Attorney here in the Southern District of New York. Today I'm announcing the unsealing of a 3-count indictment, charging Sean Combs with racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, interstate transportation for prostitution. The indictment alleges that between at least 2008 and the present, Combs abused, threatened, and coerced victims to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct. As alleged in the indictment, to carry out this conduct, Sean Combs led and participated in a racketeering conspiracy that used the business empire he controlled to carry out criminal activity, including sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and the obstruction of justice. Let me say a little bit more about the charges. The indictment alleges that Combs abused and exploited women and other people for years, and in a variety of ways. As alleged, Combs used force, threats of force, and coercion to cause victims to engage in extended sexual performances with male commercial sex workers, some of whom he transported or caused to be transported over state lines. Combs allegedly planned and controlled the sex performances, which he called freak-offs.
Never pay for Wi-Fi again. InstaBridge is a free app with 20 million Wi-Fi passwords all over the world. With over 200 million downloads already, don't wait.
Whew, word on the street is this book is wild. It's off the chain. So, before I get back, I want you to have your seatbelt buckled and get ready to take this journey with me. I'll be back. So I'm back. For those of you who are unable to purchase the book for whatever reason, I'm going to read the entire book, and it's not that many pages. So if this book is real, I mean, if the contents in this book is true, you know, I hope this the money they make from this book, it goes to a good cause. Okay, let's get on with it. Wait a minute,
Hold up. We gotta give a shout out to Everything Black. Subscribe to the channel. What I'm doing right now, I'm just going through making notes right now,
It has some disclaimers. It says one of Kim's Porter final wishes was for this memoir diary to be made public. Out of protection for certain parties and their potential criminal activity, some celebrities, performers, and events have been represented with X's due to their highly explosive nature. At some point in the future, this information will be revealed to the public. Regarding Kim's sudden death and the mysterious illnesses of Albie Shore and Jamie Foxx, evidence does exist that points to foul play and or poisoning. God bless Kim Porter and all of Sean Combs' victims, both male and female. Okay, that is...
This man got some shit on his hands. Boy, you got some shit on your hands.
Page 1, disclaimer. So, let's get into Chapter 1, Introduction. Soon after high school, I started landing modeling jobs. I couldn't believe it. It was all happening so fast. I met my husband, father of my oldest child, and one of my oldest friends in life, Albie Shore. It was a whirlwind romance. I was only 19 when we married, and no, it didn't work out. Al is still one of my best friends to this day. Our son Quincy is such a talented and wonderful young man. At that time, I had no idea my relationship with Al was going to introduce me to the man that I would spend the better part of my adult life with, a man whom I would love and cherish, but eventually fear and hate. I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but I will say, although I knew what was going on, I turned a blind eye many times. Here I have to tell this truth. Unfortunately, because deep down I knew everything that was happening, but I lied to myself a lot. He was so charming, a wolf in sheep's clothing, a devil, and I fell for it. This story must be told despite the fact it will hurt my children. I cannot hide it any longer. Sean Combs must be stopped. Chapter 2. Humble Beginnings. I was born to loving parents Jake Porter and Sarah L. Porter in the Peach State of Georgia. All through Columbus High School, when I graduated in 1988, I knew I was going to be famous. In the 10th grade, one of my best friends, Tina, said to me, "You won't make it here in Georgia." I knew if I really wanted to be famous, I would have to leave my hometown and my home, Georgia. That conversation was so important, so I look back now. It changed my life. I met Al while I was working in the industry. He was so dope and charming, and I had such a crush on him. We were married before I knew it, and Quincy was on the way, but I was young, and it felt like it wasn't going to last. It was a little heated between us after we separated, but we got past that quickly. He is just a super dope guy and an amazing father. Though we separated, we were forever bonded through Quincy. Thank you, Al. I will always love you. When I met Sean, he was cool. I didn't think much of him at the time. He was just another guy at the label. Uptown was huge and we were all living our best life. But as Sean continued to lay on the charm, and before I knew it, we were dating. As a young single mom at one of the hottest companies in the world, life couldn't get any better. Then it did. My boyfriend was getting even bigger. Sean does seem like the type that can charm you, like, man, he is so cool, until he lets the demons out. Let's continue. He and Clive would hang out a lot, but I didn't
Clyde would hang out a lot.
think anything of it. I mean, that was his boss, and he was doing things bigger than most men dare to even dream. I did a video talking about Clive and the other men that mentored Diddy. And you guys should check it out. I think I'm going to put it in the description of this video. Then it happened. I mean, okay, I was a little bit of a freak. I really enjoyed myself with my partner. And toys are one thing, but I never imagined having a man I was dating asking me to use a toy on him. The first time he said he just wanted to experiment, try something new, I was grossed out, but he kept begging. He said it would only be this one time, and he was just curious. I was only 20 at the time. I said, what the hell? I hated it. He bled from it, and there was ish on it. I left him alone after that. Chapter 3. Second chances. Sean kept reaching out, and I kept ignoring his calls. Eventually, in a few weeks, we ran into each other at an event. He came over and sat next to me. We were cordial. He flattered me, saying, you look so amazing. I replied with a simple, thanks, Sean. I tried to get up and leave, but he pulled my arm. As I turned to him, he looked deep into my eyes and said, look, what happened between us was weird.
Hold up. Subscribe to the channel. Hit them likes, they free. We're going to take a break. It's getting interesting.
Into my eyes and said, look, what happened between us was weird, but I really care about you. Can we, he paused, and I tried to use this as an attempt to escape. I pulled my hand back and said, "Sorry, Sean, I have to go. Please, I think I'm falling in love with you. Can we talk?" My breath was taken away. Did he say he loved me? It was so fast. I wasn't aware of this as his manipulation tactic. Not yet. God, I was so young, so naive. He continued, "Let's have dinner." And I felt for it. 2 days later, we went out for drinks at a lounge in Lower Manhattan. The place was nice. Sean was really coming up and pulling out all the stops to impress me. He pulled the chair out for me to sit. Back then, he was always a gentleman. He smiled and said, "Look," as he sat across from me, "I hated it. I never want to do it again. Give me another chance." Over coffee the next morning, I decided to give him another chance. For the next year and a half, things seemed pretty normal. It was fun, things were going great, and we were living the dream that I dreamt about throughout my youth. Sean and Clyde were working on Bad Boy, and he had his first couple artists. He picked up Craig Mack, then some rapper from West Coast called Notorious B1, to help Chris develop. He was collaborating with the biggest names in...
Alright, let's give it a second. Let me see. Alright. Shout out again to Everything Black. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Let's go. Let's go. Hold on, let me hear it. Let's go.
To help Chris develop. He was collaborating with the biggest names in hip hop to make it happen. Things could not be more amazing. Then he asked me to do it again. It was insane. Sean said, baby, I can't stop thinking about it. What the hell are you talking about? I responded. Sean continued. I just can't stop thinking about that night. It was amazing. Can you screw me one more time, please? I became infuriated. Why don't you go to Clyde? He is the one screwing you, isn't he? Then Sean hit me. This was the first time he slapped me hard. Before I could form words, he began to beg. I'm sorry. Holding my cheek where he hit me, I turned and ran off. That should have been it. But I guess I'm a glutton for punishment. He sent flowers and a bunch of expensive gifts. Then we bumped into each other at another industry event.
Well, I'm going to come back to that. Let me see something.
Everyone knows what's going on, and it's been going on for years. It's been going on before Diddy. See, people keep looking at him like he...
That's something that Suge Knight said in his conversation with Chris Cuomo. We covered that here on the channel as well. I mean, the music industry is an industry started... Now, the book that they were... What is that? They're gonna get those 120 people all target Diddy. I don't know if anybody would ever admit to that.
Big names of actual crimes they committed. That'd be a way of actually lessening the amount of time he does, or possibly even walking away.
I absolutely do not see him being victorious in a criminal trial.
This has been a fist of tyranny that has been unchanged for decades. It must stop.
Well, Diddy's downfall has sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry and beyond. The blast radius from the uncovering of his alleged offences could yet swallow many more powerful and famous figures. Diddy is accused of creating a criminal enterprise which engaged in sex trafficking, racketeering, kidnapping, bribery and forced labour. His lawyers say he'll fight the charges, but after the testimony you're about to hear, you'll be staggered he avoided the attention of law enforcement for so long. I'll speak to a lawyer, a whistleblower and an insider for an uncensored insight into the showbiz scandal of a generation. And Jaguar, I'm going to start with you. You've been called a whistleblower.
How do you feel about it? Because when you rapped, a rapper, you think about a gay rapper.
I believe there are some gay rappers that just ain't came out the closet.
Look.
So we coming to you live, Diddy late nights, anything can happen, I'm just vibing, so why?
As new revelations continue to send shockwaves throughout the entertainment industry, it seems the walls are closing in on Diddy as more celebrities come forward with chilling details. Among the latest is Snoop Dogg, shedding jaw-dropping secrets about his time under Diddy's roof. Known as a fellow veteran in music and one of Diddy's longtime rivals, it is believed that Snoop is more than happy to see Diddy put away for good. Some of the allegations against Diddy have even led to his closest friends abandoning him. Having been in the industry for as long as Diddy, Snoop Dogg allegedly knows many hidden secrets about the Bad Boy founder. Here are the full details. Before we delve into the revelations, we need to explore the root of Snoop Dogg's deep-seated hatred toward Diddy. Snoop Dogg's animosity towards Diddy can be traced back to the infamous East Coast-West Coast hip-hop rivalry change in Snoop's worldview, suggesting that his potential revelations about Diddy may come from a place of accountability and a desire for truth. Snoop Dogg's personal evolution has shaped his advocacy for gun violence prevention, notably through his collaboration with his daughter, Corey B., on the song No.
Hey, what's saying? It's your boy Big Scrap, not the little one. You already know what it is, man. Just did an interview with real life street stars, man. Tap in. Real life. You know that they know our position. They know how we get down. Only thing is, black people gotta fuck with black people.
Yeah. Man, speaking of black people, fuck with black people, man, we just seen, you know, the young Dolph case, man. We seen two young men throw their life away for nothing. You know what I'm saying? For
if I could ever say, and I don't like doing this, I don't like calling my people stupid at all. That's some stupid ass shit, bro. That's the stupidest shit I ever heard. But it's not rare at all.
I wanted to get to, like I said, because when you get on here, man, you talk that real. So let's get to the real. Like, what is it? Why is this happening, bro? Like, you come from the streets. We all come from the streets. You know what I'm saying? But why is this type of shit happening? We talking about a legend, bro.
Yeah.
Period. Like, it should be some, like Nipsey, he dies in his hood.
Yeah.
And it's like, come on, bro, it should be some level of respect for a nigga being in his hood giving back, bro.
Well, you gotta think, so when they say there's no honor among thieves, that shit is real. You know what I'm saying? Like, no matter how you look at it, no matter who we love, no matter what person we think is a legend, no matter what person we put on high that's a leader of ours, we don't know what them people be on. You know what I'm saying? We don't know what their spirit really like. You know what I'm saying? I done seen all these people in different lights. You know what I'm saying? In really different lights. And a lot of these people like, see, I ain't one of them people that gonna take a rapper and be like, oh man, he this, he that. Nah, cause he ain't nowhere near God. To me, you feel what I'm saying? He's somebody that God used, especially if he's speaking facts. And I feel like Young Dolph speaking facts, you know what I'm saying, when he talk. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't too much ego in it. It was like, this was really going on. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you gotta look at it like, we don't know what was going on with how, you know, everybody's, you know, when you get in that world of beef and this and, you know, stuff come with that. You know what I'm saying? It ain't like, you know, it ain't like you can throw your rock and hide and you dealing with some, you know what I'm saying, like likable people. You know what I'm saying? People that are making money. There's one thing I heard come out of a famous rapper mouth, and I ain't gonna even say his name to give him too much credit. But he said once rappers get rich, they turn into mafia hitmen. You know what I'm saying? They turn into the mob. They become this big boss. You know what I'm saying? They want to put hits out of it. You know what I'm saying? Because they can't handle it themselves. You know what I'm saying? Like,
If we understood the world and if we understood ourselves, that's worth everything.
ESP Nexium is a methodology that allows people to optimize their behavior.
Nexium is the umbrella company. Keith was the founder.
He was a legend.
Our main belief is to have people experience more joy in their lives.
It's a worldwide organization.
When conventional solutions don't work, maybe the unconventional way of thinking does.
I was looking around at all these people that just didn't seem joyful. I started to get concerned.
There's a secret organization in Nexium. They sign a lifetime vow of obedience, and they're branding girls.
And they're trying to recruit other women to do this.
I'm so strong. Like you'd never be able to do what I just did.
I always want to earn my authority.
There's a lot of things about the organization that's not right.
Our commitment is our power. You stay.
There's no good way to leave. Ever.
I have to expose what's going on. This has to be stopped.
There are a group of people we're going to the press. We are filing criminal charges.
The brand is my point.
Everybody is a blend of good and bad.
We're playing some sort of game. Chances are I'm going to win.
Nobody joins a cult. They join a good thing.
Try our new New York style pizza or any mini rice pizza for 50% off when you order online. This week only at Domino's.
When we started this investigation, Nexium was thriving. They had their main center in Albany, but they had centers in Mexico and LA and Vancouver. They had tons of students, enrollment was full, they had all kinds of workshops happening. And over the course of the investigation, we have watched this organization unravel. Keith Raniere does not immediately look like the kind of person who you would associate as a sort of bigger than life. You see a photo of him and it's sort of hard to imagine how he could hold a room and be this big charismatic figure. But the story we've heard again and again is that he has an ability to make you feel like you're the only person in the room. He has an ability to listen really intently. And that was one of the strong draws for people who had come to him for their personal development, for their personal growth. You felt like this guy got you. You felt like he was able to help you. You felt like he saw you in a way that most people couldn't see you. So I think that was really at the center of his charisma and his charm. What's really interesting that when we started digging into who he was and sort of where he came from, there's a number of signs and characteristics that go right back to his teenage years and into his early 20s that are very much central to what Nexium is. I spoke to one of his ex-girlfriends who said, you know, he had this idea that when he was 13 years old, he was enlightened, that he had reached some higher state of being. And that is really, you know, the image of himself that he continued to espouse as the head of Nexium. So it's not only this idea of being enlightened, but also of being a genius. And he's kind of created this mythology around himself that he was talking in full sentences at age 1 and could read at age 2 and was a piano prodigy and a judo champion. In 1989, he takes this high IQ test and he does really well. And the Guinness Book of World Records lists him as one of the smartest men in the world. So there actually is some institutional acknowledgement and legitimacy to his claims that he is exceptional. That mythology he's built around himself, or the story he's built around himself of being a genius and being enlightened, was central. A lot of people told us that's what attracted them to join this organization, to follow this guy. The other element that goes right back to his 20s is he had this particular infatuation with multi-level marketing structure, a kind of pyramid structure to how organizations run. And that's where members in the organization earn money by recruiting other members. He had worked for a while for Amway and seems to have been inspired by what he saw there. And then early on, before he created Nexium, He actually created a multi-level marketing company of his own, where he sold, household appliances and vacation packages, and it did really well. And it was based on the same model. So when he created Nexium, we see it again, that's how the organization was structured, that members of Nexium went out and recruited other people and they earned commissions. It was one of the ways the organization could really grow. And then in fact, when DOS was created, and the FBI alleges that Keith created DOS, it has the same structure. Women were recruited into the group, and they were required to recruit other women. And you very quickly are able to sort of exponentially expand the size of that organization. And then the last element that I was totally surprised to see, also stretches back almost to his teenage years, is his view of women and his view of sexual relationships with women. And there's a really a strong misogynistic undertone to Nexium, that people are taught about these inherent differences between men and women, and one of those elements is that men are naturally polyamorous. They need to have multiple partners, and women are naturally monogamous. And going back to his 20s, he already had polyamorous relationships with a number of women who were solely devoted to him and were okay with him having multiple partners. And the FBI alleges that in Nexium, he had 15 to 20 women in a so-called harem who had committed to him for life, committed to be only to have sex with him and to keep that relationship secret and to be okay with him having relationships with multiple women. And so in 1998, Keith Raniere and Nancy Salzman created Nexium. The story we've heard is they had this epic 4-day meeting. Nancy Salzman was this expert therapist in neuro-linguistic programming. They have this meeting, it's the meeting of these two minds, and they create what's now called Nexium. Within it, Keith Raniere is going to be the spiritual leader of it, the kind of resident philosopher, and he is called Vanguard. Nancy Salzman is called Prefect. And he really takes on this role as the spiritual leader, as the resident philosopher within the organization. He becomes a renunciate, which means he renounces all his connections to material goods. He doesn't own a car. He doesn't. He claimed in one interview that he doesn't even know the shirt he's going to wear every morning. That's sort of just given to him as a donation from the community. He is driven around by other members of his inner circle. He sleeps most of the day apparently and is up late into the night, and that's when he writes a lot of the curriculum. He has this vision that he wants to become someone who's seen as an ethical leader, an advisor to world leaders, but he actually exists in this very small kind of triangle within Albany, New York, or just outside of Albany, New York, just a few kilometers between his house, where he lives in this small community. There's a volleyball court a couple kilometers away where he plays every Tuesdays and Thursdays, and members of Nexium are encouraged to come there, and it's a time that they can interact with him, and between points or between games they can come up to him and whisper in his ear and ask him questions. So there's this interesting tension between someone who wanted to be seen as this kind of worldly figure, but then just existed in this small little circle. And he actually, we've heard from people we talked to, that once you climb up the ladder of the organization, once you get more involved in the organization, there is a lot of pressure for you to move to Albany, to be closer to the center of it, and to come sort of be in his orbit more directly. So Keith's public image is really based on this narrative, this mythology he built around himself as being a genius, as being enlightened, and being a highly ethical person. And that's the public image that he wanted to portray. I would say that one of the biggest successes he had in giving this kind of image legitimacy was the Dalai Lama came in 2009 on an invitation from the group to come speak in Albany. And this was a huge success for the organization. And if you really played this up as one of the reasons that you should come try out his workshops, try out his programs, follow this guy, because he had developed, he had turned his attention, his brilliant mind, to creating a personal growth system and a humanitarian system that was going to change the world. As you got closer to the center of this organization, you kind of peeled back the layers of the onion, you started people started to become privy to another side of Keith. First of all, he had this harem of 15 to 20 women. Many of them were high-ranking people within the company. Some of them sat on the executive board of the company. This was not something that was shared. People didn't know that. Some people I talked to said, "Oh, I thought he was celibate." He also had a public image that was really about rational and critical thought, and he was wanted to be seen as a scientist. But within a smaller private realm of these higher ranks, he had pretty unscientific ideas. One of those ideas, in fact, was that the people in the organization were reincarnated from Nazi officers. They've now, come back to atone for their sins and to redeem their souls. It was one of the ways to better the world. So this was something that he definitely knew he had to keep private. It did not square with this sort of rational, scientific side of himself that he was trying to promote to most of the community. Keith Raniere's lawyers specifically say DOS was created by a group of women in the organization as a self-empowerment, a kind of separate, secret self-empowerment group by women for women. That everyone was part of it. It was so consensually. They knew they were getting into. They were consenting adults. The FBI has a different story about what happened. Their claim is that DOS was created by Keith Raniere, and that he set up a kind of pyramid scheme that he was at the top of. And so he recruited, in the system, 6 slaves, and he instructed them to go out and recruit 6 slaves, each of their own, and it would branch out that way. The FBI alleges that he used that system to instruct women within DOS to sleep with him. He also, the allegation is that he used this system to get women within DOS to do work for free for the organization. And so if Keith Raniere is at the top of this, it's a very interesting question to ask, why would he create this? What is he up to? What is he doing here? People have pointed to a history of controlling women, a history of misogyny as well. And that this was the ultimate manifestation of his control over people and of women specifically. It'll be interesting to see what the prosecution says was behind the creation of DOS. They've certainly already uncovered and exposed some of the communication that he was having with women in DOS around the time that it was created. And that communication points to his interest in having women available to him as his sex slave. So the FBI has named Allison Mack as a co-conspirator. She has been charged with sex trafficking conspiracy, and racketeering conspiracy, amongst a number of other charges. So she has been implicated in potentially the creation and certainly the running of DOS. If this is true, it does seem to follow a pattern of Keith working with women to create projects. There's dozens of projects within NXIVM that are created as a kind of collaboration. He seems to be more of the ideas guy, but then he has someone else he partners with to actually, enact these things. So the FBI allegation is that Allison Mack is the co-conspirator on this project, that she was one of Keith Raniere's slaves, and that she herself recruited other slaves to be part of DOS, and there are allegations that some of these women within the system were instructed by their masters to seduce Keith or to have sex with Keith. So I can say that Allison Mack is someone who is part of the smaller community, the kind of inner circle of NXIVM. She lived in Knox Woods, in this little neighborhood. In fact, she seems to have left her acting career to be a part of NXIVM, to really focus on her work in NXIVM. So if you look at the organization in terms of how they could use the tools to manipulate people, one of the things they did was to say, you need to ignore your gut instinct. You need to ignore the part of your mind that's saying this is not good, because that's what's holding you back in your life. But what that does is it takes away your critical thought. So when you're being asked to do something that is uncomfortable and that you don't want to do, or if you start to question what's going on here, or you have questions about Keith Raniere, or questions about where the money is going, there's another part of your brain that starts to kick in and say, oh no, this is my issue. I always question everything. That's what's holding me back in terms of my personal growth. And that's one of the reasons why when we heard stories of women, specifically the story of Sarah Edmondson, about being branded and going through this branding ceremony with a cauterizing pen, so it was a 45-minute ceremony that was incredibly painful. When I asked her, why didn't you just leave? She said, well, for years I've been part of this organization that had taken away that gut instinct. Every time that little voice popped up that said, this is not okay, I should get out of here, and she had been trained to ignore it. She had been trained to push past that. And so the things that at one point were seen as this system, this attractive system to kind of improve yourself in the world, can be flipped around and turned on its head and can be used to manipulate people as well.
So we spent a long time trying to find someone inside NXIVM who would speak with us, and eventually we landed an interview with Keith Raniere's lawyer, Mark Agnifilo, and he has a very different take on Keith Raniere's involvement in NXIVM and DOS.
Everyone here is not only an adult, they're well-to-do adults. They're adults that, for the most part, are educated, they're smart, they have financial opportunity, they're successful economically, and they have choices. These are not poor, put-upon people, who are desperate for a better life and will make choices against their self-interest. I think the government's position has elements of sexism in it. There are men in the United States who join fraternities and get branded. A lot of them are athletes. We see these tremendous brands on their, muscular arms when they're during football games and during other sporting activities. And we don't think anything of the fact that big, strong, athletic men brand themselves. Also, men join secret groups. The Masons are a secret group. There are scores of secret groups from Harvard and Yale and all these, elevated educational institutions, but it's men, so we don't think anything of it. Women want to be in a secret group and want to be branded, and all of a sudden we're very quick to say, oh, poor dears, they must be victims. Because no right-thinking, free-willed woman would ever want that for herself, and I think that's sexist. And I think the government is playing into a sexist agenda. Men do these things, we call them Marines. Women do these things, we call them victims.
The FBI says that Keith was using DOS to compel women to have sex with him. What does Keith say about that?
Absolutely 100% false. Keith has a unique sex life. He has had multiple partners his entire life. They know about each other, and they're okay with it. I think most of the time. Not all the time, most of the time. But he makes no bones about it. This is who he is. And women choose to be intimate with Keith or not with that knowledge.
The FBI alleges that there are, in fact, several women who were in DOS who said that they were forced or compelled because of collateral, they had handed over collateral, to have some kind of sexual encounter with Keith. Are you suggesting that those women are lying?
Yes, I'm saying they're lying. If they're saying that they were coerced to have sex with Keith, I'm saying they're lying.
I think one of the really interesting questions that to ask, or one of the interesting pieces of his behavior to look at, is what kind of person would need the constant validation that he has built for himself within NXIVM. The way that manifests itself is that in every single NXIVM workshop you take, there's a photo of Keith Raniere on the wall, and part of the course is that you thank Keith Raniere. And then every year there's a 12-day celebration for his birthday, where people get up on stage and perform for him and wish him happy birthday and thank him. In fact, there's a huge element of NXIVM that's all about paying tribute. This idea of paying tribute and honoring people for the work they've done, and a lot of that is oriented towards thanking Keith Raniere. So it's an interesting question, what's going on with someone when they need that amount of constant validation? And one expert I spoke to said that, in his opinion, he sees that as a cover-up for a huge brokenness or absence that needs this kind of constant validation that he's okay and that he's worthwhile. And if he doesn't have that he would fall apart. So that's one theory about what's going on. It's hard to imagine that Nexium could exist without him there and active, but who knows what will happen. It seems like he has a remarkable hold and sway over the inner circle and the core members of Nexium. I guess the question is, can he maintain that sway and persuasion, and will his followers stick with him if he's in jail? Going way back to when media first started criticizing the organization, Keith Raniere talked a lot and baked into the curriculum a narrative about the organization being under attack. And it was a way of inoculating the members against criticism, against outside scrutiny. And the story was that when people come around who are radical thinkers, who have new ways of seeing the world, who are revolutionary, there's going to be pushback. There's going to be people that want to destroy them. There's going to be people that don't want to see those ideas flourish. And he points to Martin Luther King and other Nelson Mandela and other revolutionaries. So that was another way to say, don't be surprised when the media comes out with stories. Don't be surprised if the government comes after us, or the police or the FBI come after us. That's what happens to radical thinkers, to revolutionaries. To that extent, it wouldn't be surprising if the people who have remained committed to him are able to do so despite the evidence that may come out in the trial. They may still stay devoted to him, and they may still follow his orders or decide to run some kind of version of this. It's hard to imagine though, that it would have the broad appeal that Nexium had prior to Keith Raniere's arrest. When Nexium was operating, when the executive success programs were operating at full speed, they were going after and trying. After trying to attract the general public, they needed new recruits. Now, if you Google it, it's hard to imagine that many people would sign up for a personal growth workshop from an organization that has its first Google hit, leader of alleged sex cult, has been imprisoned. So it doesn't seem like it can exist in the way that it existed before, where they're trying to recruit new students to take a program that's supposed to make them a better, more humanitarian, more ethical person in the world.
Loyalmoves. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, man. Woo! We're doing an educational one. This is an educational one. This one goes way back. Go way back. Hold on. Give me a moment. Let's see where we at. Let's go way back. Back into time. So I guess what are her name? What is her name? Her name is Claire. That's a shout out to but we got her name Claire. I'm gonna get a shout out to him in a minute. Claire Bronzman. something like that. Clear. But it's a cult, and the head of the cult was Keith. Keith, let's see. Let's go to the beginning. It was Keith, the founder. Keith Rank. Okay, yeah, Keith Ramier or something, Ramier or something like that. Keith. The group was called NXIVM. It was a cult. Let's see. Hollywood wrote that Rainier adopted the title from 1981 video game. Okay, so he started in video games. He was a cult leader, but he was out of New York. Let's see, what part was that in New York? That's what I was trying to get to. But he had people in Mexico and everywhere else. So, but he had her, she was giving him money to this. But all of it falls back to the liquor brand as Celeb Source. Shout out to Celeb Source. Said, I looked it up. I had to check it out. I checked it out. And it's real interesting. Really interesting. It's really interesting. So if you want to check out let's see, the sex cult of NXIVM. Check that out. This Loyalmoves. Make sure y'all hit them likes. We sitting with y'all on a Sunday. We coming to the countdown, y'all. Coming to the countdown. Hold up. I don't know. I might stay a little longer. Depends. Let me see. There's a lot of shit going on out here.
We are told the rendezvous was a secret. 5 women summoned to a house outside Albany, New York, one night this past March. Sarah Edmondson says she was one of them, willingly participating in a strange initiation ritual led by a woman who told everyone to take off their clothes and put on a blindfold.
Let us in blindfolded and sat us in a semicircle, buck naked, no clothes, on a sheepskin rug.
Edmondson told authorities that she thought they were going to get tattoos. Instead, she says, they found out they were all going to be branded.
What was that like? It was worse than childbirth. So imagine a hot laser dragged across your flesh for 30 minutes without anesthetic.
At this point, you're probably wondering, how in the world did this happen? Sarah seems so normal. She lives in Vancouver, where she is a wife and mother with a successful film and television career.
Do I know you?
I don't think so.
Oh, no, I never forget a face.
But her life changed after she crossed paths with a secretive self-help group called NXIVM and its charismatic leader, Keith Raniere.
I'm an interesting person, I'm a controversial person, but most importantly, I'm an unconventional person.
According to promotional materials, even as a child, Raniere was destined for greatness, speaking in full sentences at age 1, reading at age 2, judo champ, and concert-level pianist at 13.
I was told that he was one of the smartest men in the world and just an incredible man.
With that, I'm going to pass the microphone over to Mr. Raniere.
So incredible it seems that an ordinary name just won't do. Participants say they're taught to call Raniere Vanguard.
Vanguard, yes. Vanguard is the name that we refer to Keith as because he is a leader of a philosophical movement.
At the heart of NXIVM training is something called intensives, which former members say are like group therapy, running as long as 14 hours a day and up to 16 days. Edmondson says she attended her first one in 2005. She says it cost over $2,000.
I left my 5-day, my initial training, as if a veil had been lifted, and I could see things more clearly in my life.
In promotional materials and videos, NXIVM claims more than 16,000 people worldwide have taken its courses. But participants are required to sign a confidentiality agreement. So what do we actually know about this secretive self-help group? According to former members, NXIVM has its own lingo. And the sessions came to involve practices such as chanting, a special handshake, even bowing. Former members like Mark Vicente say anyone unwilling to go along with the rituals would be scorned.
If you question Keith Raniere, the hits the fan. You are prideful. How dare you? Don't you realize you owe everything to him?
But before he founded NXIVM, Raniere's first big idea came in the 1990s, hawking memberships in an ill-fated network marketing company.
His name is Keith Raniere. His idea is called Consumers Byline.
Consumers Byline can help you.
This promotional video for Consumers Byline from the 1990s features the late Eddie Albert of Green Acres fame and a painfully awkward pitchman, 31-year-old Keith Raniere.
Keith, happy to see you again.
Yes, happy to see you too.
It's an amazing idea.
Yes, well, sometimes it even amazes me. But Consumers Byline is wonderful, and it's working.
And it really was a brilliant idea. It was based on the premise of, as a group, collectively, we can buy in bulk and we can save a lot of money.
Tony Natale knew Raniere before he was Vanguard. When you met him, did he seem like a genius?
He seemed like a geek. And he sat down and I asked him, I said, so, you have a 240 IQ. Why are you doing this? He said, this is the platform that I'm going to use, and I'm going to change the world.
But not everyone was buying what Raniere was selling. Attorneys general in several states began looking into Consumers Byline's practices.
We first told you about Consumers Byline last May, when the company was accused of being an illegal pyramid scheme.
The company settled without admitting wrongdoing, but agreed to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to the states. After that, The company went bust. By that time, Tony Natali was all in. She had left her husband and moved to Albany with her young son to be with Keith. They were together for nearly 6 years.
He's the smartest man in the world, wanting to help you through your emotional issues, help you heal sexually. I'm going to help you heal intellectually. You just have to trust me.
Natali says she witnessed the early days of Nexium. Raniere had just partnered with a woman named Nancy Saltzman, and together they created teachings known as rational inquiry, and methods that in court filings Natali later likened to brainwashing.
What Keith does, he elicits all that information from you. My opinion is that what they do from there is they take that information and they utilize that. Where can I not build you up but break you down?
Over time, Natali says her relationship with Raniere changed. He started to get aggressive, controlling, and worse.
When I no longer wanted to have relationships with him any longer, he would rape me.
In a court filing, she alleged that Nexium was a cult presided over by Raniere, and that he raped her repeatedly. In their filings, Nexium lawyers say Natali's allegations are false. They call them scurrilous, scandalous, and slanderous. Sarah Edmondson says when she was involved in Nexium, Raniere taught that women were to be subservient to men, and that he practiced what he preached by having what amounts to a harem of women.
I've spoken to 5 different women who were in the harem, and it was like having a normal boyfriend, except you didn't know when you were going to see him next. And then he'd go off with another woman the next day.
How does he do it? Because to be honest, he looks like a schlub. Right. My personal belief is that it's one gigantic hypnotic induction. I think that there's a certain percentage of people that are susceptible.
In fact, his followers are so devoted that they travel in from all over the world to celebrate Raniere's birthday, an annual celebration known as Vanguard Week.
Wishing Vanguard a happy birthday.
I loved V Week. I loved it. It was like my favorite time of year. I missed my best friend's wedding. So it makes me emotional. Because like that's more important to be with V Week. I missed her wedding.
You were deeply
I was deep in.
Edmondson was in the group for 12 years, rising through the ranks. During that time, she says she got close to Nancy Saltzman's daughter, Lauren. Lauren was even Edmondson's maid of honor.
She's like my therapist, and in the ranking system, she's also above me.
Then in March, after all their years together in Nexium, Sarah says Lauren approached her about a new and mysterious opportunity.
Life-changing, but top secret.
But Edmondson claims Lauren Saltzman demanded highly compromising collateral first. In response, she says she and some others ended up providing nude photos of themselves.
Instantly, all my alarm bells are going off.
Absolutely.
So why did you do it?
I did it because I trusted her.
Only then did she gain entry.
And the first step is making a vow of obedience to her as me being a slave and her being my master. Again,
Slave? She used the word slave?
She used the word slave.
Did you object?
Of course, yeah. I objected every stage of the way. And she said, it's a metaphor. It's like guru-disciple.
All of this, she says, led up to the night when she and 4 women submitted one by one to being branded by this woman, she says, Dr. Danielle Roberts.
And the woman on the table screamed out in pain, twisted and...
Loyalmoves, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit them likes. Hit them likes. They don't cost nothing. Let's go. We're going to take another small break. Another small break. Let's see.
Twisted and turned and yelled, and the woman I was with holding her legs down and looked at each other and we just wept.
Why did you let go and run out of there even naked?
It didn't seem like a choice at the time.
And can you just stand up and point where the brand is?
So, it's right here, right under my underwear line.
An attorney for Dr. Daniel Roberts tells ABC News the allegations are unfounded. But Edmondson did file a complaint on Dr. Roberts with the New York Department of Health. In response, the agency said the issues she described are not medical misconduct. Edmondson believes that Raniere should also be held accountable because she says she saw a text come in from him as she held Lauren Saltzman's phone, filming the branding.
When we were doing the branding, a text came through from Keith, and it said, "How are they all doing with each other?"
So he knew.
He knew. He knew that we were all being branded.
Raniere did not respond to our requests for an interview, but in a letter posted on the group's website, Raniere says there is no merit to the allegations that we are abusing, coercing, or harming individuals. Raniere says that secret sorority is not part of NXIVM, and I'm not associated with the group. The letter also says our experts say members of the sorority are thriving, healthy, happy, better off, and haven't been coerced. But in Edmondson's complaint, she says she was told that the brand was a Latin symbol. Later, she says she realized it included the initials of NXIVM's leader and those of a fellow actress.
The 4 elements were Keith's initials from one side and AM for Allison Mack from Dead On. But I didn't see that at the time.
Coming up, Vanguard goes Hollywood. Why are so many young actors following the guru of Albany?
Why do you think it's
so emotional for me?
Yes.
And one star's fight to get her daughter back.
She's in danger. She's in great danger.
Stay with us.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show
She was freaked out. All these women. Let's see. Terrible. But like P. Diddy is, he might join that cult. He might join that cult. That's what he might do. Yeah.
For Jeunesse, I think is the most gratifying thing that I've ever done. It's the most challenging thing I've ever done because it consists of working with a group of people in a way that is totally interdependent, meaning we're all working together and no one is ever punished and no one is ever told that they're wrong or they're bad. And the most important thing in working on Jeunesse is the relationships in Jeunesse. And I'm not used to that. I'm used to the objective being met. I'm used to having like strict, hard, fast deadlines and lots of fear and punishment if I don't get it right. And in working for Jeunesse, there isn't any of that. So it comes purely from a place of self-motivation and self-direction, and that is really difficult. But I would say that working for Jeunesse is the most satisfying and purposeful thing I've ever done. Watching the women who are involved in Jeunesse completely transform and evolve in a way that is so pure is such a privilege. And really literally seeing people's lives completely turn 180 degrees, where in one moment they really felt like this was all that they had and this was all that they could do, and then all of a sudden they come through Jeunesse and they start working with us and in our community, and it's like a whole other life is born out of their new experience of themselves, and that's an incredibly satisfying and gratifying thing to do. I think it's challenging because I think Jeunesse is an organization that looks to all participants to be 100% responsible for themselves and their lives. So it makes it hard to blame people for mistakes that are made, and you're always looking at your own responsibility and participation in the situation. But that's just hard for my ego and my pride. I think if the whole world operated in that way, we'd have a much more joyful and a much more efficient existence. The amount of time we spend blaming one another is a little ridiculous. So working for Jeunesse is grounding and satisfying and humbling and wonderful.
This next question is awesome. It's, if happiness was the national currency, what would make you rich? And I think the answer to that question is bringing together the people that I love the most in order to have a good experience somewhere doing something. I love putting together dinner parties. I love going traveling to with people. I love organizing spaces and experiences with the people that I care for the most that cultivate good relationships. And it's interesting because that's kind of what I do with Jeunesse, the women's organization that I work with. We use these tools and these structures in order to organize situations and circumstances for women to come together and create incredible relationships. So I guess I am kind of doing that. And then on top of that, performing. I love to perform. It needs out. And I get to do that for a living, and I get to do that for money, and both things I do. So that's pretty awesome. Hey, this question's great.
So when I first came into Jeunesse, I had just come out of a relationship, and I was feeling very scared and lost and confused. I'm like, oh my gosh, am I going to be single forever? Am I ever going to be able to have a relationship? What's wrong with me? All this stuff. And very shortly into the program, I started to recognize and experience that what I was looking for wasn't about a relationship. What I was looking for was about an experience of myself in my life. And once I understand how to have that experience of myself in my life for me, I can then have the relationship I want. Or not, but I'm okay in either circumstance. And going through my life and going forward into my life from this place with that recognition, I feel like the possibilities are endless. And I feel like I have no fear in shooting for what I want ideally. There's no reason to settle, because any way I look at it, I'm going to be good. That's awesome. So before Jeunesse, I had tons of people around me all the time. I've always been a people person. People used to come visit me in my house and say they were going to Camp Allison, because it was it was a party. Everywhere I went, it was a party. But I felt very lonely, and I didn't understand why. That didn't make sense to me. And I imagined the idea of finding the most wonderful husband and then feeling intimate, and finding that one best friend and then feeling at ease in my relationships, at least with just one person. I was just looking for one person. And I didn't understand why I couldn't get that. I was so good with people. I was so good in a living room, but I was so bad at intimacy. The format that the Jeunesse Tracks offers with the men and the women, and then this consolidated, very intense structure where you are just diving into yourself and understanding how you relate to other people, helped me to reveal all of these areas of insecurity, areas of just really basic confusion, or lack of attention, things that I had just never thought about or looked at in myself. The Jeunesse Tracks helped me open up and see, so that I could start to build a relationship with me and start to be honest with me, and then practice being honest with all the people in the tracks with me. And then that expanded out and out and out into the rest of my life. And now I have the most beautiful friendships with people that go so far beyond anything I could have imagined. And I have the most awesome experience with my family. And I can say with total truth that I look at men now and I'm not trying to find a future husband. And that is very freeing.
Oh boy. Alright, hold on. Let me check. Break time. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, you just always call.
I'm sorry. I would have checked, but trash. Get on my nerves. Hell no, this shit's hell right there. Picking that shit up. Oh. God.
Oh.
I had the baby screaming. I was like, God dang.
Right, you can't do shit. I'm out to erase the whole motherfucker.
My badass kids and your wife.
Right.
Working on your shit.
Terrible.
Gosh. Shit. Ankle, I mean, size it. Just this one fucking side right here that just hurt. Yeah, baby, didn't I eat your beer last night? Yeah, it's in the refrigerator.
No.
Yes, I did.
Nah.
It's in the refrigerator. Huh?
No.
You already drank it?
Yeah.
No. Oh, God. Sunday's been busy, then slow down for a second, busy. Oh. Oh, God. Got school in the morning. Oh, I still need to fold these damn clothes.
Is you on my YouTube or something?
You on my YouTube. I told you I was looking at the video.
I'm talking about now.
No.
You just was on it or something?
I'm on there now.
I'm keeping. I was hearing echoes from it, like hearing it.
On there now. I was on there earlier.
Alright, welcome to the broadcast. What you need to say?
I don't even know what you're talking about. I just watching this video.
I mean, welcome to the broadcast. What would you need to say though? Like, so, are you here?
I don't know, because I don't know if you
is about this new solved mystery about this lady who has her family got billions of dollars, and she got locked up for sex trafficking, but the people on Ciroc was her family that owned it, and she joined a cult, and she was paying for this cult to survive, like sponsored the cult, and they trafficked in a lot of girls, and gotcha. So the cult goes all the way back. It owns Ciroc, so it has something might do with P. Diddy, cause it owned University Studio at one time too. And she's about to get out this year. I love you.
Love you. Love you.
Love you.
Love you too.
Alright, back to it.
Dr. Young Yards, thank you very much indeed for coming on to Talk Police from your home in Walnut.
And joined a study group, and from there I joined the background group that was behind it, and supposedly we were going to fight racism and sexism in classes and make social change and all that wonderful stuff. And of course everything was really just about the leader, who was a megalomaniac, very troubled woman, actually a former sociology professor herself. So I was in for about 10 and a half years. It was a very restricted group. We pledged to dedicate our lives. We were on call 24 hours a day. We worked 18, 20 hours a day, 7 days a week, year after year. So especially those of us who joined early on at the sort of 10-year mark, we were exhausted. And a lot of stuff, and it's too much to go into, but people could read Bounded Choice to get more of the story. But at some point, just things started to bust open. The leader left town to go to Bulgaria, which at the time was her dream place. This was still during the days of the Iron Curtain. And so while she was out of the country, everybody met. We all met, and it took days. Several of us stood up and said, this is a cult, the leader's a drunk, etc., etc. It took about 3 days to convince the other members. And eventually, the night before she came back, we took a vote, and we voted unanimously to expel her and unanimously to dissolve the organization. So ultimately, everybody got out. So we all helped each other get
get on our feet, write recommendation letters for jobs and references and clothes, and we had nothing. And I'd spent 10 years really socially deprived, if not deprived in many other ways. But so I went to New York to get a job. So I wanted to be away from the Bay Area, and here I was in this cultural mecca. And I'd seen maybe 2 or 3 movies in the 10 years and didn't know anything about culture or anything. And so it was it felt like I was let out of prison, and yet it was also very anxiety-producing and very stressful, just trying to become a regular person again.
Yeah, I bet. Wow. Yeah, I mean, you testified in several cases as an expert witness over the years, but most recently, you were able to observe several weeks of the recent trial of Keith Raniere, the leader of the cult with the almost unpronounceable name of NXIVM. This was in the news a lot because of the celebrities who had been part of it and who had been involved in the sex trafficking and forced labor, amongst other things. But first, let's talk about the cult itself. Janja, what exactly is, or was, NXIVM?
Well, NXIVM essentially offered self-improvement courses for professionals, primarily in the entertainment industry. So NXIVM was kind of a front for the cult. NXIVM itself had several front groups that offered these courses, like ESP, Executive Success Program, etc., etc. And so thousands of people took these courses, which are unfortunately very popular here in America, at least. These leadership training courses, management training courses, self-improvement courses, and people pay thousands to go listen to some, self-proclaimed person who knows everything. So part of these front groups were used to obviously bring money into the organization and to lend legitimacy. And then Keith Raniere, who was behind all of this, who was headquartered in Albany, New York, would have people recruit, obviously, as most cults do, from their friendship networks or from their professional networks, and eventually set up an extremely disciplined cult structure among these true believers, some of whom ran centers around the countries, for example, in Los Angeles and in Vancouver, Canada, in state of Washington. And Keith Raniere himself he's probably one of the worst cult leaders I've ever heard of. In my years of studying this, he was an absolute sadistic, pedophile, sexual abuser, misogynist, and but he, as cult leaders do, he had these people who were enthralled with him and recruited their friends, and eventually they set up a sort of secret inner circle called DOS, D-O-S, which was Latin for dominus something or other, which basically meant master over slave. And he set up a master-slave structure among women. And some of these women were brought to a place and branded in their pelvic area, like literally branded like you brand a cow with a hot iron. And eventually, people found out, and people went to the press. Sarah Edmondson in Vancouver was one of the first people to help blow the whistle, along with Mark Vicente in LA and some other folks. And so the whole thing kind of blew up. Although I have to say there are still NXIVM followers and believers, even though he was convicted on 7 federal counts of sex trafficking, labor trafficking, wire fraud, identity theft, child pornography, etc. He still has believers who still meet. Some of them are in Mexico. Yes, there's a group in Mexico and on the East Coast, and probably scattered around the country. So yeah, there are still believers, and he's in prison awaiting sentencing.
One of the most famous things about this trial is that celebrities got involved in, for instance, Allison Mack and other older stars. Is that still part of it now, do you know, or?
Of the believers?
Yeah.
Well, I don't believe Allison Mack is, but certainly, as far as I understand, Claire Bronfman and her sister Sarah Rothman, who were the heirs to the Seagram fortune, Seagram whiskey, and poured literally millions and millions into Keith Raniere's pockets. Claire is awaiting sentencing, but she is, as far as I know, an absolute still true believer. And her sister Sarah is still running some of the cult's schools for children in France. So, yeah, and that's always a concern for people who speak out because of the money and their ability to litigate against people, which is what they did for years against the naysayers and the people who left. Absolute legal harassment.
Right, okay, so time to get into the trial itself. In March 2018, Keith Raniere was arrested and indicted on a variety of charges. His federal trial began on May 7, 2019. You were invited to attend the trial by a documentary crew who you had filmed with earlier in the year. The 8-part documentary entitled The Vow will air on HBO early next year. So why did they want you to be with them at the trial in Brooklyn?
Well, they had filmed me earlier in the year, or I guess the year before, I can't even remember. But they had filmed me meeting some of the former members, such as Mark Vicente and Annie Case, his wife, and several other people who were in New York at the same time that I was.
I want to address that portion of the audience that's like, well, that was not a great decision, but you made it, you accepted this brand. It went well beyond. That's not why he's in jail right now. It was a sex trafficking scheme. I mean, he was having young women who he was brainwashing into starving themselves nearly to death, entering this so-called sisterhood, which was really a sex cult meant to service him. You weren't one of those, Sarah, right? But many other women were basically being groomed. I mean, not basically, they were being groomed to be Keith Raniere's sex slave.
Yep. And that's the thing when people say you chose it, you could have left, whatever. It's really important to understand. In my mind, I've committed to this game, like in a fraternity or sorority, where someone's telling me what to do and I'm saying yes, because that's the commitment. A vow of obedience is what I've done. I think this is an exercise, and one of my exercises is to get this brand. So I do it. Other women, other things, and so the collateral, this is a key point, it's like a gun to the head. If you don't do the things, your collateral is going to be released. So that's not really a choice. In the cult space, they call it bounded choice, bounded choice, where like there's no, actually no way out. You have to do the thing. Yes. So the other women had assignments like, go seduce Keith. India talked about that in her story, that was her assignment, and other women had to do other things with Keith, and that was their assignment, and that's what they committed to do, and they went along with it as well, because what are you going to do? You're going to lose everything. And also admit, hey, I just made a really bad decision, which is one of the components of it that keeps people kind of, doubling down.
The India Oxenberg story, she's Catherine's daughter. They join us again. Catherine has such guilt over this because she thought she was bringing her daughter to a self-help program to help her learn business skills and did not foresee what was going to happen. Shortly into it, Catherine recognized, this is not for me. I don't know, I'm out. But India was getting something out of the lessons and stayed. And before Catherine knew it, India was completely untethered from her, was being intentionally separated from her loving mother. And Catherine knew she's gone. And now it's turned from, it's turned into a rescue operation. And was doing everything within her power to try to get India back. But India at this point is brainwashed. And the mere threat of, I'm going to take you out. You need to get out. Keith is a threat. Would otherize Catherine even more. I mean, the person who's inside the cult is like, oh, hell no. And Catherine spoke to me in her first interview about this before India had got pulled out, before Keith had been arrested. And Catherine is a very well-known Hollywood actor, and going to the media was truly her last resort. Here's a little bit of that interview from it was late 2017.
Any program that seduces people to abandon their lives to serve their agenda rather than empowering your pre-existing life, there's something off about that. So I watched her get sucked in. The more I learned, because defectors came and told me about their experiences, the more concerned I became. And I realized that I did an intervention with her at the end of May, and I failed. This is my last resort, going to the media. My daughter is very, very angry with me right now. And she has every right to be angry with me, because I would hate my mom if my mom came out and publicly exposed her in this way, exposed me. But I love her to the end of the world, and I'm only doing this to bring awareness, because without awareness there can be no outrage. And unless there's outrage, the authorities are not going to step in and do what they should do, which is shut this down.
What's your reaction to seeing that, Sarah?
I remember that interview. I was so grateful. I don't know if you remember, but your team had asked me to be there, and I wasn't emotionally strong enough to do live TV. I just didn't think I could handle it. But I was so grateful that Catherine had the strength to speak when we couldn't, and brings back a lot of memories of a time when, we were all just throwing our punches, and that media punch and Catherine's role in the takedown was really important. We all had a very different role, me with showing the physical abuse, and Mark Vicente and Bonnie and Catherine, and Nippy, there wasn't many of us that were willing to talk.
People before us too.
Yeah, people before us who tried, and in 2009, this was a fight that took so much of our life force, our life force in it.
And resources.
And resources, and then afterwards, and watching it, it just brings back a lot of memories of a very stressful time. We didn't know what was going to happen in the trial. We didn't know if Keith was going to be convicted or not. Even now to this day, he's still appealing to, this week found out his third or fourth appeal was denied. He's still trying. It's an ongoing stressor. And that seeing that video is, it's a reminder of what we've been through. And
can I
also
tell you
so
something
happy.
Let me tell you something petty about me. You just said that you didn't accept our invitation to come on because you were not ready for live, which makes absolutely perfect sense. I remember at the time, because I really wanted you. Your story was amazing, and we were really covering this case aggressively and honestly.
Yeah.
And I was so disappointed, and I remember thinking, she doesn't want to come on because I was with Fox.
Oh,
no. We make up these stories in our heads. I'm just sitting here.
Well,
that's
how
the time we're in too, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I'm so glad that we've cleared up this dynamic.
No, it's
I
just tell it because I bet there's a million women out there and guys who tell themselves stories about, it's something about me. There's something wrong with me. Where I didn't get the.
When I first came to ESP, I had on the surface something that seemed to be like the perfect life, or a pretty good life. Superficially, materialistically, I was very successful. And when I came to ESP, and I started to do the work in the clothes lab, do the work in the classes, and now that's my life, that's my reality. I have an experience with my family that is nothing but joy, and it's astounding.
Keith and Allison, January 9th, 6:59 a.m. talking about bringing her here.
Do you think the person who's being branded should be completely used and sort of held to the table like that? Sort of almost like a sacrifice?
People were constantly being manipulated. They were constantly being controlled.
I was falling asleep. He reached over and touched my face. I make the pass.
Shortly thereafter, Melita recalls losing her virginity at age 15.
We give things meaning. Justice is something we earn.
And the person should ask to be branded. Should say, please brand me, it would be an honor, or something like that.
Once you've seen the photograph, this is K. Hart. Keith Raniere, this is not what you do to human beings, unless you think you own them.
Keith started Jeunesse, which was a women's group. It was going to help you be more successful in life, be a more successful human being within yourself. That's what I thought it was designed to do.
Raniere wanted to destroy me. It was either me or him. My goal was to expose Nexium.
Damn. This motherfucker is. Yeah. So, P. Diddy, this is bigger than what you think type of shit. That's what it is. It's bigger than what you think type shit. This shit crazy. This is off the meters. That's why they probably would want him dead. Like, they would want to kill him.
My goal was to expose NXIVM.
So I've done a lot of true crime topics on this channel, but
you'd probably be like, Ghostbusters. They hate this group to the fullest. They do.
the one that has always interested me the most was cults. I feel like the idea of just a person, same as you and me, who takes control of a group of people, manipulates them, brainwashes them, mind controls them, and they're usually already broken down people, and they can basically just make this group of people believe or do whatever they want them to. And it's not like it's just one person either. It's usually a group of people. It's so extremely hard to snap yourself out of it because you are truly the only one in control of doing that, because everyone else around you is also getting brainwashed and mind controlled and encouraging this sort of mentality. I've only done a couple of cult videos on my channel, but the ones that I have done, I have done. Like, I talked about them. I was on Reddit and I found about this cult called NXIVM. And NXIVM, for those who don't know, started out as just a typical MLM. If you don't know what an MLM is, they basically go door to door selling products, and the more products you sell, you get a commission from that. But also, if you recruit members into the MLM, you also get a commission for that. And so that's what NXIVM started out with, but they weren't going door to door selling products, they were actually selling programs. And these programs were said to be self-help, self-improvement, and enlightenment, kind of like live the life you deserve today. This MLM would soon just be a front organization for a sex trafficking cult. There is so much to unpack when it comes to this cult, and there is a lot to go through, so I'm just gonna hop right into it. Also, by the way, hi, if you don't know who I am, my name is Haley Elizabeth. I post true crime videos once a week on my channel. So if you're interested in any of that, you can subscribe.
Shout out to you, shout out to Haley, shout out, hey, we wanna listen to you, Haley, what you gotta say?
If not, totally chill. If you just want to vibe and go, vibe and go. So NXIVM was created in 1998 by a man named Keith Raniere and his wife / co-founder Nancy Salzman. A little bit of backstory on Keith Raniere. He was born on August 16th, 1990 to his mom Vida and his dad James in Brooklyn, New York. His dad was an advertising executive and his mom was a ballroom dancer. And as for his childhood, Keith lived a pretty good childhood. He was an only child, so his parents gave him lots of love and attention. And even Keith himself would go on to say that he lived a pretty nice childhood. He did say that his mom drank a bit, but it was never excessive. And as a child, Keith was described to be a natural-born leader. He would spark conversations with anyone and become friends with anyone. But at around 8 years old, that kind of changed when his parents got a divorce, and so he had to move from Brooklyn, New York to Suffern, New York, where he lived with his mom. After this divorce, he became very quiet and very reserved, but although Keith was very quiet and reserved, he didn't
kind of close to New York, man.
really want to be in his bubble. He wanted to go out there and make friends, and so he started to read books on how to make friends. But instead of reading books like self-help or self-improvement, he started reading books such as Isaac Asimov's Mind Control and another book called Second Foundation, which is another mind control book. And he was reading these mind control books at just 12 years old. And at 12 years old, not only was he reading mind control books, but he was also teaching himself 3 different languages with all of his alone time. And then as a teenager, he got a job with a company called Amway. And Amway was a very popular MLM at the time, and he basically just went door to door selling supplements. And it was through Amway where Keith would start to learn the ins and outs of MLMs, and this was also perfect for Keith because, as I said, he had a really good way of talking to people. He could spark conversations and become friends with anyone, but he also kind of took it as practice, sort of, on how to manipulate people into buying something they don't need. After high school, that's when Keith went to Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute in Troy, New York, graduated at 22 with a 2.2 GPA and barely passing. Now, the thing about Keith is that Keith was insanely intelligent. As I said, he was reading mind control books and he learned 3 languages at just 12 years old. So he was really, really smart, but he never applied himself to college. And that's because Keith never really showed up to class. He never did tests. He never did homework. And so naturally his grades fell. And the reason why he was never at class was because he was actually working on his.
I focus right now with Sean Combs because he's a Africa. Most likely because he was victimized by his mentor, Clyde Davis.
Rumor has it, allegedly, Diddy got on his knees for Clyde Davis in 1994.
He got a boss too, and his boss name is Clyde Davis. Clyde ran him. Diddy ain't himself.
His own business / MLM called Consumer Byline. But after college, that's when he got a job as a computer programmer for the New York State Division of Parole. Keith was also said to be in the Mega Society. Now, if you guys don't know what the Mega Society is, the Mega Society is a society of people that have only 1 in 1 million of an IQ. But in order to be entered into the society, you have to take what's called a mega test. And this mega test will prove if you have a 1 in 1 million IQ, and apparently Keith was in this group. One of the members of the group even said that Keith, along with 2 other people, a woman named Marilyn Voss Savant and a man named Eric Hart, were one of the highest scoring members. So although Keith was extremely smart, he sort of used his intelligence for evil. And then in 1990, at the age of 30 years old, that's when he finally got Consumer Byline off the floor and he started getting employees. And at the time, it was actually said to be one of the fastest growing MLMs. But with Consumer Byline, they weren't going door to door selling specific products, but they were actually selling memberships for people to get their everyday products at a lower price. So it basically supplied you with coupon codes or actual coupons. And one of the people hired into this MLM was a woman named Tony Natalie. Now, when Tony and Keith first met, they immediately hit it off. They started dating and then shortly got married after only a couple months of dating. Tony was previously married with a child, but she had actually just recently got divorced. And then in 1993, 3 years after Consumer Byline was made, they suffered a rapid decline, and that was because they were following a lawsuit that was filed by the state of New York, who stated his company was a pyramid scheme. And other than that, the lawsuit really went no further. Keith just got rid of his business, but the next year in 1994, he would start his second MLM business and call this one National Health Network. But this time, he wasn't selling like things at a lower price. This time he was selling supplements and weight loss pills. But in 1996, 3 years later, he was caught once again for this MLM, and he not only had to pay a $40,000 fine, but he also had to sign a paper saying that he, quote, wasn't allowed to be promoting, offering, or granting participation in a chain distribution scheme. Now, Keith was supposed to pay $40,000, but he only ended up paying $9,000 because he claimed that he didn't have the money for it, which was kind of crazy because Keith was constantly always bragging to people how he had a multi-million-dollar business, and I honestly believe it because Keith's business had employees in 25 different states, and not only that, he was also being investigated in all of those 25 different states simply just for ripping people off. Because surprise, these weight loss.
That's how you do it. Send the white girl out for the news. They're gonna be every goddamn thing. Goddamn. She's in it. She's not playing no game. Look.
Pills didn't actually work. So he only paid the $9,000 up front, but he still owed the rest of the state $31,000. His wife Toni was kind of left with no direction. Their family had literally lost all of their money, and so in this depressed state, she went to her best friend Nancy Salzman to comfort her. Nancy Salzman was actually a nurse, and
I'm gonna solve it. I'm gonna solve it. She's gonna solve all the mysteries and shit. Okay, you wanna, man, when we need you, man, we gonna call you. You know what I'm saying? Cause you on the job. She ain't playing.
And Toni was kind of just ranting to Nancy about all of this, and Toni tells Nancy, you're a nurse. Why don't you sit in a room with Keith, just talk to him, get to know him, and let me know what you think of him. Like, do you think he's crazy? Do you think there's something wrong with him? Or is there something wrong with me? And so Nancy is like, okay, yeah, like I can definitely do that. So Nancy goes to meet with Keith, and Toni said that Nancy came back 4 days later with a glazed look in her eye and told Toni, quote, "You don't know him. He's gonna change the world. He's light years ahead of us." And shortly after this, Keith and Toni got into a divorce, and Keith and Nancy started dating. Once they started dating, they actually went into business together because Keith had a background of sales, so he knew how to talk to people. And ironically, Nancy was not just a nurse, but she was a practitioner of hypnotism and neurolinguistics programming, specifically second best in all state of New York. So they made their first business, and they called this one Venery Management Systems, and it was basically a program that people can take for self-enlightenment and self-improvement. But when they pitched this company to a lot of investors, they weren't really getting the response they wanted due to Keith's past. Keith's entire past is literally a bunch of red flags. Like, he has been known for ripping people off, he owes money to the state, he's known for scamming people. And so since Venery Management Systems was getting a lot of flack, that's when they decided to change the name to Nexium, which is actually the name of a specific power in a video game that he played, where the description of the power is, quote, "Destruction of one's enemies increases one's own power." So now let's get into the actual cult. How did this MLM go sideways? How did a man who has been practicing mind control and brainwashing since he was 12 years old, and a woman who is second best in her state for hypnotism, how did this company go sideways? So Nexium was the actual company that Keith and Nancy owned, but within this company they sold a program called ESP, which stood for Executive Success Programs. And so once they started to hire people on, these people went door to door, and they would even stop people in shopping malls or outside of stores and introduce them to the ESP program, which was set up to be a program taught by Keith for self-enlightenment, to live the life you deserve, get you out of that slump and start living again. And in this case, Keith really couldn't get in trouble because although he wasn't allowed to do pyramid schemes anymore, this really wasn't a pyramid scheme. He's not selling a product that, wouldn't work, like false advertisement. He's literally just selling advice, and you can't really get in trouble for that. But this ESP program was not cheap. These programs were very, very expensive. So within this ESP program, there's 3 different levels. The first level is a 5-day program for $2,700. The second level is an 11-day program for $5,100. And the third level, which was ironically highly recommended, was 16 days for $7,600. And they said and put very big emphasis on, if you chose the third level, it was only for the people who were really dedicated and really wanted to change themselves, kind of manipulating their customers into thinking that if you choose the cheaper one, you're not as dedicated to yourself. And you would think, if you're paying nearly $10,000,
God dang, just for some advice, hell no,
for this program, it would be life-changing, riveting. What you would do, literally, you would sit down in a rented out ballroom of a hotel And there was like a big box TV in front of everyone, and Nancy was standing next to it, and she would literally pop in VHS tapes of Keith speaking while like everybody watched and took notes. Keith wasn't even there to teach the class. It was literally a VHS tape. So not only would you watch these VHS tapes, but they would also give you homework to do every day, and they would call this homework integrate. So basically their idea is that if you want, for example, to strive to a different career, and you really, really want this specific career, if you work at that career a little bit every single day, you will then integrate with that person that you have in your head. They would basically tell people, think of something you want, think about the life that you want to live, and every single day do something little that represents that life. And when people did that, of course they would see results because they were consistently being held accountable for becoming the person that they want to become. And when someone's over your shoulder telling you what to do and how to push yourself, of course you're going to get to where you want to be. And integrating wasn't just homework, but integrating also went internally too. And they described integrating as a technique where you took your fears, phobias, limiting beliefs, and even medical conditions and cured them completely and promised to never have it come back. But these people didn't see it as them doing the work. They saw it as like, oh, Keith and Nancy are the reason that I am where I'm at today. They also created this system called rational inquiry, where basically Keith and Nancy would look at your life and tell you how to fix it to their standards. So if you are completely comfortable with your life, but Keith and Nancy look at your life and they don't like it, they will literally tell you what to do on how to fix it so it's pleasing to them. And so that's kind of where the cult behavior started. The more Keith and Nancy got that attention from people, the more they started to harness it a little bit more. So most of the people that entered never really finished because the program was so expensive. And once you pay, like for example, the $7,600 for the 16-day program, that isn't the only fee that you have to pay. Once they have you paying, they will continuously drain you of all of your money. They will begin giving you all of these fees, and if you want to see this extra program, then you have to pay an extra fee. Or if you want to know more and expand your mind, you have to pay this amount. The program also gave out sashes to its members. So if you had a silvery blue sash, that means you were like the top of the group, and the only people that had silvery blue sashes was Keith and Nancy. And if you had an orange sash, that means you were a new member, you just got there, and you're kind of lower on the rank. And there's also colors in between, so
this other woman is coming home soon. P. Diddy just got locked up for sex trafficking. They have a whole documentary about this. Is this like a sex trafficking month or something? That's what it's saying, like it's a sex trafficking, like they probably waited and let P. Diddy just add his level up. Every level he went up, gave him the key to the city. He was P. Diddy. And goddamn, here you go to today. Now you got all this background to the sex trafficking story coming out and shit, like maybe this was him, part of this and part of that. This shit serious. Then you got people talking about he was putting stuff in a baby oil to make you feel kinda wiggly. They got all this going on. P. Diddy. Make sure y'all check out the channel. Subscribe to the channel, Loyalmoves. Yeah. Oh. October. We got Alpo. Oh. We got Nicki Minaj. Oh. I'm on the Philly, I'm in one of the streets. Alpo like the bikes too. You like bikes? Alpo like bikes. But look, all this to say, stop sex trafficking, man. This is wild. This is real. This is no joke. You gotta look at it. And that's why they so strong on, hey, I told you get out the way. P. Diddy, this is a strong one. They might kill you for this shit. There's so many people out there that might want you. They might want you for this. Dang, that's what don't listen to Suge Knight. Why not? Why not? Let's see. Should I stop? Why not listen to Suge Knight? He told P. Diddy watch his ass. He might, they for him. They for him. They looking for him. They got him caught up in a jam. He can't get out. His back against the wall. Terrible situation. The key players though, that's they threw on P. Diddy. But the organization is a quiet group. They probably rich billionaires. Yeah. They're real rich billionaires. So P. Diddy he thought he was playing. Somebody said, one of them said, man, he thought it was P. Diddy, we gonna make him pretty. Cause this bullshit is pretty much fucking with my reputation, and I'm not having this shit. They about to make him pretty. It ain't gonna be pretty. Pretty. Yeah. Let's see. This Loyalmoves, man. I'm trying to figure out, should I come back? You know what? That cartoon was funny as shit. I swear to God. I just got, listen. No, I'm not gonna do it.
Intense scrutiny on the activities of satanic cults.
Stories of devil worship and satanic cults corrupting young minds.
Unbelievable crime at the hands of satanic cults.
Possibly satanic messages on some rock music recordings.
Did you have any choice? We've all followed you.
Those who are trying to prepare themselves for entry into the evolutionary level above human, synonymous with the kingdom of God.
Man was the largest mass suicide in American history took place.
I don't care if movies like Hitler. I've chosen to follow him, and I'll follow him to the end.
I don't really have a definition of cult, but I could break it down as curious, non-traditional, loving, trying to see and help people.
Your only chance to evacuate is to leave with us.
Hello everyone, my name is Haley Elizabeth, and if you
don't know who I am, I post videos concerning conspiracy theories, controversial people, true crime, and literally whatever I want. If you're interested in any of that, I highly suggest you to subscribe, and if not, that's okay. We can just...
In the 90s, Arsenio Hall changes what late-night television looks like.
We were able to see people on their dead. We didn't see anywhere else.
Arsenio also transforms what it sounds like.
Not a lot of people give NWA a chance to say or express any of their songs.
After police.
Yeah.
We gonna see Kid and Play. We gonna see Salt and Pepper. We gonna see MC Hammer. We gonna see Bobby Brown.
While unconventional bookings lift Arsenio to late-night stardom,
Those people over there are people we usually give names to. That's all.
one controversial guest,
it was like someone had farted in the room,
helps bring it all crashing down.
Come on.
I love that Arsenio is and was different. I love that he created space for you to talk about lots of things.
I love these chilies hot too. Come on. I'll let you need one out from the one. And the white was like super terrific.
Arsenio rewrites the rules of late-night television by hosting a show that speaks directly to a younger...
What? Yeah. What's going on? What you calling in? You calling in this WPG Balls.
WPG Balls? Okay. The number one caller, do I win a prize?
Yeah, you win a prize today.
What I win?
You win Sunday cream pie.
Sunday cream pie? What the fuck is that? I don't think I want that.
Sunday cream pie. You win that. We
Okay.
bring it over to you in a box.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna get it.
When you, tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a Sunday.
That's ship don't ship on Sunday, ship on Monday.
Yeah, but it's a Sunday cream pie.
Okay.
But you get it on Monday.
Okay, I got you.
You don't get it on Sunday.
No, I'm gonna enjoy that Sunday cream pie.
Yeah, Sunday.
Okay.
But you don't get it on Sunday.
Okay, shut the fuck up. Oh shit. Oh my god. Oh, my feet.
I'll have somebody over there rubbing for you.
Alright.
Hold on.
Oh god. Oh. It's even coming out of nowhere. My feet.
What's the food? What's on the food platter today?
I don't know.
So you ain't got a meal for today?
No, we don't have dailies today.
What?
We don't got daily specials on Sundays.
Yes, y'all do.
No, we don't.
Yes, y'all do. Y'all got chicken specials. Y'all got.
That's everyday menu.
Y'all got fish specials.
No, that's only on Fridays.
Like,
God.
Give me
Now, let me get back in here. I'll call you right back.
Alright.
Alright, love you.
Love you, good. Trying to get that good old special, man. Dang. Shit. Alright. Let's go. Shit fucked up right now. Hold on.
We gotta thicken our revenue stream. We gotta thicken our fucking stream. We gotta thicken the fuck out of that stream right now. Shit is serious out here. The music business is failing. The bubble done popped. Whose phone is that?
It's my phone, man.
That's your phone?
It's mine, yeah.
Answer it.
Definitely. What's up, bro? Yeah. No, I can't talk right now. They forced me to answer in the middle of this meeting in order to humiliate me. Yeah, he's actually staring at me. He's really pissed right now. I swear to God, I'm not joking, man. Yeah, 6:30. I'm gonna go right now, my bad. I apologize about that.
Throw that phone out of my office.
Please don't make me do that.
Throw the phone out of my office. Throw that fucking phone out of my office.
I know.
Oh, y'all think this meeting is for me? No, this meeting is not for me, it's for y'all. See, I'm gonna be alright. I'm straight. I got villas in Brazil, Tahiti, East Hampton, West Hampton. Sergio gonna be fine. Fuck a recession. I own 20 kookaroos.
21, sir.
I own 21 kookaroos. Y'all don't own one kookaroo. Not one. Not one. Y'all are fucked. You all are fucked. He's not wrong. Everyone loves chicken. I'm doing fine. Please, people, help me help you. I need to come up with some brilliant ideas right now. Who's first?
Me first, Sergio. There's this Taiwanese phone company, TEC. It's got great valuation. It's a steal, dude. We buy that shit. We're not just selling the ringtones. We're selling the fucking hardware, bitch.
Does this look like a telephone company to you? We make records here. This is not single or wireless. Anybody here know anything about singleless, wireless, broadband, any of that fucking phone shit?
No.
Well, you know something? You should. Don't be proud of your ignorance. Now tell me something good.
I just discovered the next Alicia Keys. I swear to God above, I can vouch for her.
The next Alicia Keys?
Yep.
What was your last discovery?
Chocolate Daddy.
I couldn't hear you. What'd you say?
Chocolate Daddy?
Yeah, Chocolate motherfucking Daddy. He discovered Chocolate Daddy. How much did Chocolate Daddy sell?
15,000 units.
15,000 units.
Proud of every unit. I'm proud of those units. I'm telling you, this girl is...
Fuck up.
This girl...
Don't talk.
Shut up.
I shut the fuck up. 15,000 units. You made me vouch for Chocolate Daddy. 15,000 units. I got 6 fucking kids. You know how much money that is to put them through school? You know how many Air Jordan 6 black kids wear?
I'm sorry for my outburst. I'm having a panic attack right now.
You. What you so quiet for?
Just thinking. Ideas.
That's what we need. We need ideas. Share with the group.
Okay. Next month is the 10-year anniversary of
Aldous Snow Live at the Greek Theater, which is one of the highest selling live albums of all time. And if we did some sort of anniversary concert, I think the figures Nick can generate millions of dollars in revenue.
So you think one show is going to change our game?
Well, we saw
what they're looking for, because it was going on the premises of sex. They're looking for pictures of girls that may appear to be underage.
Yes, it's breaking news. Diddy adopted a white child. That's because I felt that you could, enjoy also having a black parent to take care of you and help you out.
Uncle Gene's back in action, and he's on a roll exposing Diddy once again. Seriously, every time Gene Deal opens his mouth about Diddy, it's like he's dropping bombshells left and right, revealing just how shady Diddy can get. And let me tell you, his latest revelations, they're something else. Gene just spilled the tea on what really went down with Diddy's adopted daughter, Ava Baroni Combs, and let me tell you, it's wild. Back in 2020, Diddy made a big deal about adopting Ava, but then out of the blue, she was out of the picture just as quickly as she came in. Now Gene's saying there's a whole lot more to that story than what Diddy let on. According to Gene, Diddy allegedly did some pretty messed up stuff to Ava, which begs the question, was that Homeland Security raid connected to her? And are we really supposed to believe that Hollywood's been turning a blind eye to Diddy's shady antics for this long? It's time to dig into this whole mess and see what's really going on.
It's craziness, man. And you know what's so crazy is, bro, that all these stories has been around the industry for a long time. All these industry people know that Diddy been acting like this and doing this. And yo, it's a lot of stories that goes around in this industry about not just him, other people. Jimmy Iovine. Ain't nobody talking about Jimmy Iovine. He got sexual charges and everything on him. But he got those publicists that's keeping it out off of CNN, that's keeping it off the major news reports. Nobody's talking about that. This is something that goes on, man, that they're gonna push up under the rug, and a few years later, Bad Boy 5, 6, 7, 8 will be out.
Sadly, Gene's got a point about the industry turning a blind eye to bad behavior time and time again. Look at the light.
What they're looking for, because it was going on the premises of sex trafficking. They're looking for pictures of girls that may appear to be underage.
Yes, it's breaking news. Diddy adopted a white child. I want you to adopt you because I felt that you could, enjoy also having a black parent to take care of you and help you out.
Girl, that tea is hot. Things are going to get messy now that Diddy's daughter Chance has spoken up. As you may know, Diddy hasn't been in the news much lately, at least not for his music. But now that his own family is speaking up, the word on the street is that things will change. Everything, therefore, now is the time to act. CMS, in light of all the controversy around these ever since those ludicrous accusations and the FBI raids, everyone has been curious about what his children thought of it all. We're going to find out something amazing, so are you prepared for it? Chances are this will blow your mind. May completely upend Diddy's world, and everyone is wondering if she would support her father or give us a few surprises that will leave us all in stitches. The 17-year-old daughter of Diddy has determined that it's time to pour some tea on her father. Everyone shook their heads and warned others that tea will soon be served. Extremely hot.
Ava, I'm a Scorpio.
No. What's your last name?
Ava.
What's your other last name? Ava Baroni Combs? Yes, it's breaking news. Diddy adopted a white child. I want you to tell them the story about how I adopted you. But you still have beautiful parents that you're my child also. Please tell the story.
So, Papa decided that he would like to be a married man. inside and stay with the scenes.
That's like a little bit like borderline suspect. I don't want nobody, we want to get it clear. I adopted, like my daughter adopted kids and everybody else adopted kids, Charlize Theron, everybody's ever adopted Sandra Bullock. I adopted you because I felt that you could, enjoy also having a black parent to take care of you and help you out. So, just clarify, because it's crazy out here online. So, I play with the kids, I got permission from your mother. Say all of that. It's crazy out here.
I met Jesse and Viola when I was 6 months old.
6 months.
And then
If you're over the age of 50, there is a new state-regulated burial and cremation benefit that pays for funeral and final expenses of up to $35,000. This coverage has no waiting period, no medical exams, payments never increase, benefits never decrease. Benefits are non-taxable and guaranteed coverage for those that qualify. We buy insurance for those who depend on us, whether that be our spouse or kids. Save them from the struggle of trying to make ends meet without your income or you there to help. The truth is, there's no way to predict what will happen in the future, but we can plan for it. So don't leave your loved ones unprotected. Click Learn More below this video and complete the short survey to see if you qualify for coverage that can help your family handle the financial stress.
Sleep. didn't make her cry.